Hello, I'm Lynda Mifsud, and I'm a watercolor artist, but I really think of myself as a dilettante. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I've wanted to be an artist all my life when you get right down to it. I started out in art school when I was very young and went on to find a career doing something else, making money, like so many of us do. But then when I finally got to retire in 2018, it took me a while to get back into it. By that time, I hadn't painted for 15 years. The last time I painted, I lived in Malta. My husband and I had moved over there and I was painting then. But then I started back up. I finally got the nerve in August of 2019, and I started back up and I said, I don't really know where to begin. I was so lost. And I thought, well, if you wait so long as I had, then maybe you forget how to do it. So I went back to the Dunedin Fine Arts School to take a drawing class. I started with drawing and I took a class from Melissa Nachi. She's a wonderful, wonderful teacher and really helped me a lot. So I wanted to walk through some of my development because it's been less than 3 years since I've been painting in earnest. I did get back into it. I did the art class and then I went on to study under Suzanne Natsky. We started at the Lipa Ratner in 2019, and we have continued on Zoom. And then Zoom has led to so many other things, as you all know. But why don't we go ahead and get started walking through some of the paintings? And again, this is from an amateur, a dilettante, just like so many people are in this world. It's always good, I think, to go back to some of your earlier works. And I have very few earlier works from my college days. So Malta is the last time I was really seriously trying to do watercolors. So this is one from a view from Dingley Cliff. I call it the edge of the world. I mean, that location is what I call the edge of the world because I felt like I was just sitting on the edge of the world. And that's when I painted. Now, I compare it to what I'm doing today, and it seems very weak. It seems like a kindergarten child did it so long ago. I see so many things that I would do differently if I painted the same thing, but isn't that always the case? So we're on the next one. So again, back to my drawing. The drawing part to me is very, very important. And I'm never successful at doing something every day, but I usually try to, especially a portrait, I usually try to do a drawing first before I paint it, because that really helps me a lot understand what it is I need to focus on and how to approach it with watercolors. I've never been able to paint this girl. Every time I've tried it, it doesn't work. But one of these days I'm going to get her, maybe she'll be grown by then, but this was when she was 6 years old and she came to visit me here in Florida. Next. And this is my great nephew, Ion. This was his first Christmas. And I drew that from a picture that they had taken and gifted it to my niece. Family really, focusing on family, I think is a really good thing, because I feel like I'm giving something back with that when I do something and I gift it to them. Now, learning to see is the first step to anything. That's why drawing is so important. And the first year that I was painting, that's exactly what I was doing. I was learning to see again. I always felt like an artist, and I would always look at things and say, oh, how would I paint that? What would I put down first? It was always that kind of discussion I had in my head. But this one, when I first saw the photograph, I said, I don't know if that's going to make a good painting because it looks too simplified. It just looks too simple. And it wasn't, I probably shouldn't confess this, but it wasn't until after I painted it that I noticed this owl's head was turned like that. He was looking over his shoulder. And I didn't see that about this owl until I finished painting him. So if you look at his neck and the feathers, you can see where they're turning. And I thought, wow, that really made it for me, because I thought, I'm not seeing anything if it took me to paint that whole thing before I actually saw what was going on with this owl. Next. So flamingos, I love flamingos. And this is a photograph of somebody else's that I duplicated. But again, it's learning to see what's going on in the picture and trying to replicate that distance and those reflections and the shadows behind it and the different values. Values is a very, very tough thing for beginning artists to learn. And it's one that took a lot of practice. And I think is still something that I have to work on really closely. Next. This is my bird face. I used to get these pictures from the Tampa Bay Times. They have a photo contest, and they would have the most spectacular pictures of birds. And I thought they were so pretty. And that's where I started learning to paint, was from a lot of
Lynda, are these are watercolors, not pencils, right?
No, these are all watercolors. Yeah, except for the two pencil drawings.
What paint do you use?
I use whatever I had at the time, but over time I have graduated to Daniel Smith. I like Daniel Smith. You know, but I use Holbein. I use Holbein a lot. I like those colors, and it's hard not to buy new colors. I'm always buying new colors. Another bird from the newspaper. And I did this one several times, and I found that it's really helpful for me anyway to paint something over and over again, which I do. And I find that I learn new things about it, and I always come up with something better, and they're never the same. Something happens when your brush, it's by the way you hold the brush, something happens between your brush and your arm and your brain. And so often what I have up here is not coming down at the tip of my brush. Something else happens in between.
I thought they were connected somehow.
I don't know what it is, but something happens when you paint. You may have the best plan in the world, but something happens. So keep going.
Okay. I think I'm counting a few birds. You really had a lot of
I had a bird period. Yeah, this one my husband wanted. He wanted a gift, and it was his birthday. So I made him this. He likes the eagle, and it was catching a fish. He likes to fish. So this was for my husband. And birds are fun. I think they're just fun. And I'm going to continue to do birds, but I'm going to do my own photographs, because one of the things that I discovered in my first year was there are competitions.
I want to do that.
Competitions are kind of fun. So this
I did get it off. Yeah, I think it's off now.
Okay. Now,
somebody.
so,
Oh wow, she does have beautiful.
So you're talking. So here it is. This is
don't
one of
have
my birds, the early phase from the Tampa Bay Times.
We record apps. Start video. Right, I want to start it, right? Let's
Yeah.
do-
Oh, we got somebody with the open mic. Oh, Lynda, your mic's still open.
no, I don't think you want that.
So let's go, Ron.
There we go. All right. I love the colors here, especially the pastels there in the bird. Beautiful.
You know, one of the things I was really proud of on that one is I did something else with the water. Just go
You got
back.
another bird here.
Yeah, but I wanted you to go back. Can you go back?
Now, did Suzanne require you to do birds when she was teaching you?
No, I could do whatever I wanted.
You did naughty.
Yeah.
I
no,
hope
she doesn't
you're
require
mute
anything.
because somebody's not
Okay.
hear this.
So we'll keep going. So
Let
this
me
is
go
a
to, like,
black
your,
swan. I did
Well,
this.
they give me
one.
options here.
Okay,
Okay. I got them muted.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so
going.
here is my friend's baby James. That's from the Flamingo Gardens in Broward County.
Mhm.
And he's a very popular, because he was a baby at the place, and I watched him grow up. So Flamingo Gardens, baby James. Continue.
Yeah.
So here's my pelicans. I really liked them. Again, a photo from the Tampa Bay Times that I was using when I was learning to see. The proudest thing I have here, I like the background. I invented the background basically. But for me, the background had a lot more interest, or as much interest from my perspective, as the birds. I mean, I like the birds and the babies, don't you?
I agree. That's pretty cool.
So keep going.
Yeah, I can definitely see improvement over time here. Oh,
Mhm.
wow. Look at the color on this.
Now, I also tried new things when I was in Suzanne's class. She always kept it interesting for us, and we did some collage. And here's one that I gifted to a friend of mine, that she's the director at the Flamingo Gardens, and I gifted it to her after a visit at her home. And I really liked the way it turned out. So it's just a little thing, but it's kind of special. I liked it. And collage is fun. It's still watercolors. This one is one of my favorite photographers, Michael Probst. He's from Germany. And I did these stallions several times. He does these amazing photographs, and he does the stallions every year. So those were fun. I gifted that to my grandson. And this is a really fun painting. It's rather small. It's an alligator and everybody likes this one. This is another Tampa Bay Times photo contest that I copied. So here we go. A photograph from the paper as well. This is at the time, one of the only places on the world where they had not had a case of COVID. And they had this picture in the paper. And I thought, oh, this is fun. I like the figures. I like the way they are silhouetted with the background. And this is one of my favorite skies that I've done. I've been really working on skies and clouds and things like that. But I like that one a lot because of that. So continue. And this is a still life by my pool. We were doing still lifes, and we were focusing on bright light and shadows. And so it was just a class exercise, but for some reason, I really liked it. And so I want to do more things like that in plein air, but I have some work to do to get there. I don't know, got a block about being around people, I think.
Okay.
Continue.
I love the colors on this. The colors.
This is a weird one. This was just streaming light coming through my front window, and my cat was sitting there. Cats just love to sit in sun, and they are lovely. Now, it's not a good painting, I don't think, but there's something about it that I want to replicate in future paintings. There's some pieces of this that really struck me about that cat's eye in the total sun that is just so washed out and gone. But I just, there's something about this painting that I really liked.
Yeah, I agree.
Next. And this is a painting of my old cat, Honey Bear. He's no longer alive, but animals they're such wonderful subjects. They're the best. They're just the best. And so this was a memorial painting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Next.
Another animal.
Yeah, this is my brother's dog. I visited him and I thought, well, I'll paint a picture of his dog. And this was a limited palette. And so they just love it. I framed it and sent it to them, and they just love it. I did it while I was there, and they just, they show it to everybody that comes to their house.
What's the inspiration, or the, you go from a green to a violet on the left, and then the oranges are just beautiful. Did you plan that out, or is that kind of serendipitous?
Well, he was sitting on a carpet, and I got on the floor and took a picture of him.
Those were the colors you picked.
It was very dull. So the carpet was beige.
Ah, okay.
And there's no way I would make it beige, but I liked, the purple for the shadow. And then I liked the light in the behind her. I liked the two colors, complementary. And or
Yeah, I like that
analogous.
a lot.
Yeah. And so that backgrounds are kind of tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. Backgrounds are always tricky. A lot of people, for me,
Mhm.
for one, just sometimes have trouble getting the right background. Speaking of background, this is a nice wash.
Well, it's just white. You know, there's nothing wrong with just white.
Mhm.
So this was one I did of my brother and his new great grandson, which was a momentous occasion in his life. And I just loved this picture. And so I painted it with love, and I call it In God's Hands, because those hands and that teeny tiny baby just hit me as something so momentous. He has this in his study.
You did a
And
great job on those hands. And of course, we
and
all
that's one of
know
my first.
that's not easy. Now, you said the
Very-
background's white. Looks to me like there's a wash on it. Is that my
Well, it looks
imagination?
like it. I think that's because of the light. It's just the light.
Okay.
It's just the way the photograph came out.
Should have taken credit for it.
And this is another one that I did. It's not the best photo, but I had trouble finding my photos when we were
Now,
putting this
where did
together.
you
But
learn to draw hands? Those are very difficult to pull off in 3 dimensions. Most people, well, we won't go into how some of us do that.
I don't know. I just I look and I see and I draw.
Mhm.
I didn't learn how to do it any other way. I just look and I see and I draw. So this is another one of Ayam with his mother, his lovely mother, Cindy. And I gifted that to her, and it always makes me feel good to gift. I don't ever sell. That's not my thing, but I like to gift things. And this was gifted for a friend's husband who had passed away, and it wasn't exactly what she wanted, but it's, it's,
Mhm.
I give up. I don't do commissions. If somebody wants me to do something, fine, but I'm not going to try to please them, because I please myself first.
Yeah.
And if it makes them happy, and it did make her happy, it
I
made her
like the
cry.
minimalist on that
Mhm.
jacket. You didn't say more than you really needed to, and it
Mhm.
tells the story.
Mhm. And he was a piano teacher. So this is of my friend Mila,
Wow.
and she had visited her grandfather in Amsterdam, and he died of COVID.
Oh my.
So I had to paint this, and bless his heart, I had met him. So it had a lot of meaning, and I sent it to my girlfriend. I first sent it to her, a picture, and she said, she thought it was a photograph. She said, "Why are you sending me my picture back?" And I said, "Well, it's not a picture, it's a painting." Then she looked at it and she realized it was a painting. I hate when people tell me that. They don't realize they're not really complimenting me when they say it looks like a photograph. But that's what a lot of people say, let's face it.
Now this one's interesting. This one kind of just caught me when I was briefly going through those, and I stopped on this one.
This is my father, and it was taken from a 1948 photo that was used in an article. He was the director of the Rice Experiment Station in Stuttgart, Arkansas, and it's when he met my mother. And it was right when he was inventing the Dawkins seed grader, in about that time, 1948. And then he moved us to Pakistan in 1951. That's where I was born. I say he moved us, he moved my mother, and then I came. But this was about the time that he came up with the idea for this invention. It was a seed grader. And so I painted this. I moved some things around, but this is a picture of him in a rice field with a combine in the back of it. And I call it the inventor. It's when he invented the Dawkins seed grader.
Huh. Very cool.
This is an abstract, as I mentioned in Suzanne's classes, she always keeps us interested in learning new things. And so this was a contour drawing. And then I painted it and developed it in more of an abstract fashion. And there's something about it I felt I really liked. So then keep going.
Okay. Yeah, I want to look at this. Come
You
on.
want to look at it?
All right, I'm done.
You
Okay.
can look at it.
All
So
right.
this is the real girl, and I painted the real girl.
Hmm.
And so I have these side by side on one of my walls. And this is Hadid, Gigi Hadid. She's a model. It's
Mhm.
from Vogue. And I just love the way that veil came across her face. And so that's what intrigued me and drew me in.
Now,
And
when
the
you did
fabric.
this, how did you plan out the veil? I think that's, I'm sure when you first saw it, like, how in the world am I going to do the veil?
Well, I did it in pieces.
Mhm.
You know, I couldn't paint the face with a wash like this. Of course, I did certain parts of it. And the piece below her left eye was a separate piece. And then the veil, it had to be in pieces. It had to be.
You painted shapes then.
I did. Mhm.
Nice.
And I really liked the way the fabric came out. If you notice in her skirt, where that dark fold is in the front center, I just let that bleed out. And that's what I want to do more of in my watercolors, is let the water move. But doing
I
that,
like the dry
Perfect.
brush there too. That's nice.
the what?
The dry brush
Where?
right here.
Oh, that, yeah. Yeah. There's more.
Oh, got another bird.
Got another bird, but this is my picture.
If I had known or thought about it, I would have had a theme song about what was that song of the bird? Bird. Well, anyway, bird's the word. Okay.
So this is from a trip I made to Flamingo Gardens, and this is one of my pictures. And I really, the colors were so dull, but I tried to make them more interesting with the phthalos, adding more phthalos to the dark colors in the water, but and making the reflections more colorful.
Looks like the, is this the paint, is it opaque? Is it a wash or?
No,
Wow.
it's watercolor, all watercolor. No, yeah, no.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
only
you keep saying that. And I keep asking questions like it's not. So I guess.
Yeah, why do you think it's not watercolor,
Yeah,
Ron?
well, I think it's watercolor. It's like maybe it wasn't transparent. It's really
Oh, it
beautiful.
is. Yeah, it is. I don't use gouache.
Oh, I like this one.
Now, this was my painting and that I submitted to the Florida Watercolor Society. It was the first one that was accepted ever, and maybe the last, I don't know. But I didn't get picked this year, but I will keep trying. But this one, and the reason, with the exhibition review that the artist does, Kiko Tanabe,
Yeah.
went over those. And she said the reason she picked this one to go in is because I broke the rules. She said, you're not supposed to have something going diagonal like that across the painting. That's breaking the rules. But it worked because of the treatment of the water and how the rocks come in and out and the colors blend together.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I didn't know I was breaking a rule, and I just knew it looked right. And it was one of the things. I've been to the Mediterranean and visited there, and there's just nothing like the water. The water is unbelievable. And water has been something that before birds, I did a lot more of. And
Yeah, you're a rebel. I'm telling you.
I'm a rebel. So this
Okay.
is one of my birds. This is one of my photographs. It's Rosie. Now, this was accepted to the Florida Suncoast Watercolor Society online show. So I got included there. And the thing I liked about her, the picture itself was very dull, but I tried to make it look more intriguing with the colors. And I liked the pattern of it was a sea grape tree that she was sitting in, and I was standing under her. So I like.
Oh, I like this one.
And this one is my
doggone
dog,
it, that's
Sparky.
nice.
This is Sparky. I've done him many times. I like series. I like to do things more than once. I think that the more I do it, the more I see. Unbelievable. But it's true. I had done a sketch of him and it came out really good. And there were some things that I really liked, especially the bridge of his nose. And I tried to duplicate that. And it's not as good as the first one, but there were things about this one that came out better. And that's just the way it is with series. You're going to get some of the things you liked and some of the things that you like that weren't in the first one. And that I could not figure out the background, but I did the orange and the purple. And it really really worked out.
It
for me.
pops, it really pops.
And this one got honorable mention in the Florida Suncoast Watercolor Society show this last spring.
Now, do you use a masket on the hair on the top?
No,
You
No,
painted that
no.
in, okay.
I did. Yeah, I do a lot of negative painting, and I don't like to use masket.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Frisk it. I don't like it. I
Yeah.
do use it sometimes, but I don't always have a good experience with it. And I've been using this thing more and more. I put it actually in my drawing supplies. I use this more and more. It's a pen, but I don't use it very often because even with this, it does things I don't like. I would just rather paint it right in the first
Now,
place.
Jackie said she loves Sparky painting. She loves
Thank you,
Sparky.
Jackie. Sparky is a good subject.
Oh, now this one I think is really cool. It's almost to me surrealistic. Give me,
Does it?
what's this all about?
Well, my neighbor's children are 5 and 3. And they're, you know, from my house in the evening time, I can hear them playing out there, and they're little girls and they like to squeal, and they're just so much fun. I'm sure their parents think they're fun at 7 o'clock at night in the witching hour, but they're beautiful little children. And they're so energetic. I asked their mother to give me some pictures so I could practice with. And so I painted this of them. Now, the Suncoast Watercolor Society allows, with permission, you can use pictures taken by someone else with permission. So I entered that, and it didn't win, but it was in the show. And I just loved this picture. I'm doing one now. The little girl.
I like the style on this. I think it's a style that's really works.
Now,
for
you know what I was doing when I learned this? When I did this, I was subscribing to Dylan Scott Pears. He has a subscription service and a lot of videos, and he does a style as wet and wet, but it's a lot of layers. And you'll have 50 videos for one painting, this guy. And they may be 10 minutes or 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but it takes for freaking ever. And I was trying to adopt that style with this. And I think it's a very good style for children, because you build it up slowly. You can't be harsh with children. They have to be very soft.
Yeah, I like some of the little bit of the exaggeration, the way it was painted. Nice. Now, what's this?
Oh, it looks like a fried egg, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It
It's
looks like
earth,
a fried
isn't it?
egg that has solidified or turned into stone or something, but it's really a Carol Carter class exercise. I took one of her online classes with the terracotta, and what I have been doing, okay, I'm done with the photos of other people. I'm doing my photos, but then I'm trying to learn some new techniques and improve so that I can get the kind of effects I want. I'm a dilettante, but I want to be not a dilettante. I want to be a real artist. So this is one of the class exercises, and I really enjoyed it. She has a technique that is very different, but it's basically wet and wet. And so I like the way that turned out. It's a pearl and an oyster. It may look like a fried egg to me, but it's really a pearl and an oyster. And she simplifies the heck out of things. And so that's the class example. And so now how I apply it to my own comes next.
Yeah, composition wise, I like it. It's like a little drama with this ball getting ready. It looks like it's getting ready to drop. And of course, the lines are all focused. So everything takes you right there. But nicely done. Whew. Oh, I love this. Now we're talking color now.
Now, I was applying this, and I'm probably not finished with this, but it's using the principles that Carol teaches. And I would have some other things to do with this, but I stopped, and I'll go back to it another time. But this is the tree in my backyard looking up. I was sitting in an Adirondack chair, and I put my head back, and there it was. So I have a series coming with these trees. And
What size are these most of these paintings? Someone asked.
This is a quarter sheet. Most of my paintings are quarter sheet, but I'm going bigger. I'm going
Okay.
bigger. Some of them are small. Some of the early ones I did eighth of a sheet, but most of my paintings are quarter sheets or a little bit bigger. The girls was half sheet.
Oh, okay.
The neighbor girls. Now this is another, Zoom has opened up the world to us, and I'm right there. So this is a class from Vicente Fuente Garcia. He's from Spain, and he is with the Artefacto platform. And I like the Artefacto platform, and I'm using it almost exclusively and I'm a member of their family. It's a worldwide family. It's really exciting. So he does these wonderful things. He likes to go to Iceland. And this is a class exercise from his course. And then next, I love his style. I love his style. And this is one that I did trying to emulate it. It didn't quite make it, but it uses his principles. And so I want to do more of my landscapes that are less tight and less detailed, and more with washes of color that blend and bleed.
Okay, let's
So-
stop on this one and see if anybody has any questions. This might bring up some questions just on this painting alone. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask or comments?
Now, this is no Vicente. This is somebody else.
Oh, this isn't your painting?
That's my painting, but it's from a class.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to stop?
Is it a cemetery?
Oh, no, it's in Turkey. It's some ruins in Turkey. This Russian artist, Konstantin Sterkov, is one of the teachers on the Artefacto, and I've been using him a lot lately to learn from. And this is one of the class exercises. He went to Turkey after the invasion of Ukraine, and he's in Germany now, but he's teaching on the online platform. And this is one of his classes. And one of the things that he was teaching us is how to get the glow of the trees with the background coming through of the mountains. So this is sunlit, and it's not a cemetery. It's some ruins in Turkey.
Beautiful colors, and you definitely got the glow of the trees on that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Charlotte.
Oh, thank you. Could you really spell that Artefacto out, and how much do they charge?
It's ARTEFACTO.
Yes.
Miroslava is the curator of it, and they have different courses for different prices. It's not that expensive by most standards. So
Okay.
I would encourage you just to get on and see what they have. And they have a lot of demos, free demos. And so you can certainly join those, and they have discounts. They're
Is
good.
it artefacto.com or just Artefacto?
Well, it's artefacto.com, and it's an online school. You'll find Artefacto other things, but Artefacto, it's a school platform.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
So
Okay.
this is another one of his, and he's a very good teacher. You follow through, and he's so frustrating. I got to tell you, it is so frustrating to try and paint as fast. Now, here's a 30-year artist. He's written 25 books, and I think I can paint as fast as him. So I get myself all worked up and frustrated because I can't do it as fast. I can't do it as good. But, you know, it's a nice representation of the style and what it's supposed to look like. So I need to kind of calm down and not take myself too seriously when I take these courses. But I think I'm learning from him. And I think that if I continue to apply what I learn to my own things, and I think I've got one coming up.
Yeah, this is a beautiful piece. I like the composition and the execution technique. That's nice. And now another landscape.
Now, this is not after I took his class, but this is landscapes have been something that I've done for many years. I like landscapes and I'll continue to do them. This is from Malta. This is a gun turret in Malta. And it's overworked. It's not a wonderful painting, but it has some good features about it. And so it's certainly not anything I would put in a contest, but there's some things about it I really like. And so this may be one I do again. It may not. We'll see. This is also of Malta. And this is a photograph I took. You can even see my car. I walked all the way. My car is on the right on that little road. And I walked all the way back here just to get the right perspective on this salt pan. This is the salt pan in Gozo, which is an island in Malta. And I decided to make a bold decision and turn the sky purple, because there were purple reflections in the salt pans, the water in the salt pans. And I thought I would do an underpainting of purple and then I would paint over it. But I liked the purple so much, I decided to leave it purple. So this is from Malta. That's a big one. This is 18 by 24 from a block, an Arches block.
I like this one, although those reflections and the purplish you bring out in the sky, it's just a nice piece.
I did a series of landscapes because I was very, very disappointed in 2021. It was still COVID days and we couldn't travel. So I decided to do a series of landscapes of the Amalfi coast. I visited there in 2000. And I wanted to do a series from some of the pictures I'd taken there. This is a lighthouse in Priano. And we stayed in Priano. It's between Positano and Ravello and Amalfi. And so
Now,
water is.
Randy mentioned, I think it was this one here, the textures. She likes the texture in that painting. So that's a very good point. I think you're right, especially that sky and the textures is probably something you really want to reproduce. Nicely done. Good point, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you. And so this is another one. I call it the Lido Deck. You won't believe it. There is so much in this hillside. It was from a sailboat. We rented a sailboat and went from Amalfi to Positano, short trip, but it was fun. And I saw a lot of things. And I just love the way these peaks and valleys blend together. And so there's actually a building on top. And then I wonder if there's an elevator that goes from the top to the bottom. It takes a long time to get an elevator in Italy, but these hillsides are just phenomenal, and I really love them. So I did this
a beautiful piece of painting shapes. What I'm always amazed at, and this one's a great example, is the ability to paint a landscape and know what details to include and what not. Example of those, like the umbrellas. I think there's umbrellas like a restaurant or something. It's deciding what details you're going to add just to tell the story. And I think this is a beautiful piece. I mean, I'm afraid if I got started on this, I'd be painting a couple ants there on the rocks, but a little exaggeration. But this is a good example of being able to paint shapes and see the shapes without going into so much detail.
I'm glad you think that, because I thought this was way too much detail, but I like it. I've got 3 of these landscapes on the Tyrrhenian Sea in my living room. So
yeah, this is one, a great example of when you squint, you really can see a nice composition
thank you.
Okay. I squint a lot,
Yeah, I do too. I'm nearsighted, so I squint a lot. This is right down from my hotel in Priano. It's the little beachhead that they had, and you can take a boat from here to Capri. So I tried to simplify this one even more. Yeah. And it's difficult to do. But water, I've painted a lot of water, and the reflections in the water and the the views of water. I think I could have done a better job, but it's not a bad job. And it was accepted into the online show for the Florida Watercolor Society. So I felt very good about that. And the water is really the feature here. Another thing that I have struggled with is focal point. What's my focal point? And it's hard to, I think it's water. But I could say, well, the focal point is really that little beach house over there with the boats. So focal point is something that I struggle with as a dilettante. Now here, talking about focal point, here's a good example. Now this is a landscape from Malta. I took great pains not to paint all the bricks in that wall. And if I had to pick a focal point, I would say, well, my focal point is the pattern itself. And that's probably not a good answer, but it is my answer. So I had a lot of different kinds of vegetation. I've done this before in a vertical format. I've also done other scenes like it. This is lighter, the hues, and altogether, the values vary, but altogether it's lighter. It's a lighter palette, if you will, than I normally would do. But I kind of like this. The thing that brought me to it was that fence that you can see through, the brick walls, the way it kind of tumbles down over that little cliff, and the perspective of the pattern of the farmlands. This is also from Gozo, which is the agricultural island of Malta, where we lived for 2 years and 2 months. And I've painted this before. I'll paint it again. But the patterns of the farmlands, it's like a quilt work to me. And I'm drawn to it. I just think it's so comforting. There's nothing more comforting.
Yeah, I
than
think
actual-
what I like is the variety of the patterns and textures, and just the amount of, not a lot of detail, but enough to tell a story. But this is a great example of repetition in a lot of different ways. And I think it's a nice, it really is a nice piece. You said you kind of like it. I'm going to tell you, I like it. I don't kind of like it. I like it.
Well, it doesn't knock me out, but maybe after I look at it for another 10 times, it will.
Yeah. Well, be careful
I-
what you ask for. Okay.
Lynda, oh, can we go back a minute, Ron?
Sure. Here we go.
So Lynda, I'm curious about that white area in the upper left corner. What is that?
That's a building. That's a building in
Not
this.
very, it looks, if you look at it close, it almost looks like sheep's wool, but I know it's not a sheep. That
Oh,
kind
wait a
of-
minute. Wait a minute. You're talking about the plants. Those are prickly pears.
These
Oh,
here.
really? Yeah.
Those are prickly pears. Yeah, they're kind of a light bluish, and they have round cacti things and pink flowers. You can't see the pink flowers
Oh,
because it's spring, but in the fall they'll have pink flowers. And yeah, I've done a lot of prickly pears, but in Gozo, you got to be careful because those farmers will shoot you if you cross the fence to pick prickly pears. You eat them, actually.
yeah.
They will shoot you. Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
wanna
my cousin
cross that
almost got
fence,
shot.
nothing.
I'm sorry, Ron.
I wouldn't want to cross that fence. It looks like it's a little sharp there on the top. Yeah, I see. See, that's what I like about it is there's that texture, and there's just so much variety, but it all hangs together.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. There's an artist who does this kind of thing. Can't think of the name of the person right now, but that's all they do is he does these repetition and patterns and
Mhm.
various textures.
Mhm.
So you might be on to something there.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
You might be on something too. Here we go. Yeah.
So this is now where am I going with all this? I'm learning a lot from different artists. I really am learning to develop compositions with my own photographs, and I want to be competitive. I enjoy that. I did this in work. I was a consultant, and we competed for jobs, and I'd put presentations together, and we would compete against teams. We'd build teams and compete. And I liked winning. I like who doesn't like winning, right? So I like the competition aspect, but where am I going to satisfy myself, and how am I going to develop? I want to be, I'm not just doing this and going to quit sometime. This is something that I'm dedicating myself to, and I want to improve, and I want to be like a real artist. One day I want to grow up and not be a dilettante. I want to be a real artist. So where am I going with this? That
Yes.
last painting is kind of experimental for me. And that last painting, it didn't succeed in what I wanted to do, but I was trying to depict motion. And I had this little video of a little blue heron that I took in the park. And this video, I took 4 frames from it, and I overlaid those 4 frames, and I tried to show the motion because he was shaking his feathers, and you would see this dull little blue bird. And then all of a sudden he did this, and he was the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't know how in the world he could make these things happen to his feathers, but it was a tremendous thing when he shook his feathers. And so it doesn't do what I wanted it to do. And I'm saying it doesn't depict motion. This is what he looked like in 4 frames overlain upon each other. And so I painted the 4 frames, but I'm still working on that. And the background was a total disaster. I didn't like the background, but I like him. I like the heron. There are things about this that I see in that heron when I look at this painting. And that is what I'm shooting for. I want to learn how to depict motion, and I want to learn how to paint from my imagination. This is a full sheet.
Yeah.
So this year I started painting on much bigger, because I think that painting bigger is better.
You know, Suzanne makes a really good point, and it's kind of I think the biggest reason I wanted to have you here today is she says, I love the way you see the good and learn from paintings, even if they don't turn out the way you planned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great advice for all of us. And I know when you and I had talked about that one painting you were entering, I love the attitude of, this is what I'm learning. And I think for me, I'm going to take that advice and try to note the things you learn and what you do well, and then forget about the stuff you screwed up on, and you put them all together. I think the advancement and the demonstration of where you started and where you are today is amazing. And I think it's an encouragement to all of us, no matter where we are, that we can continue to learn and grow. So that's fantastic. I'm proud of you, Lynda.
Thank you, Ron.
Any questions? Now, Helen, you haven't asked your question yet. I was a little disappointed.
Hey, Lynda.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I know you spend time on Mondays, 2.5 hours on your art, but how much time do you think you spend during the week other than that?
I do something every day. I've been traveling this last week. I was visiting my mother, and I didn't do everything I wanted to do while I was there, but I always travel with my paints. But my goal is to do something every day. And my routine would be, I can draw something in the afternoon, but I can't really paint well in the afternoon. And my husband likes to cook dinner. So my routine is in the morning, and then I'm best in the morning. And then in the afternoons, I might draw something out or plan something out. But I try to spend at least 4 hours a day doing something.
And is that 7 days a week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it shows.
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
it does. And I think it's a reminder of all of us that continue to want to grow. It takes work, but I guess for me, it's not work, is it, Helen? It's and Lynda. Any other good questions? That was a good one. Thanks for coming up with that one, Helen. You won again.
I know I'm going to be called on every time.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Thank you. Are you back traveling again? You couldn't travel before, but now it's kind of people are traveling.
Well, I don't know. I went to see my mother last week, last week.
Oh, just
In
like I got
Arkansas.
technical difficulties here. Here we go. All right, go ahead.
So I went to see my mother last week. She's had an accident in April, right about Easter. She's doing much better. She's in an assisted living place now, and I was helping her do some things. But I tell you, traveling now is very difficult. My plane was delayed both directions for 3 hours. And so you get to the airport early and then you wait. I'm not taking a Legion again, but I will have to go see her. So I'm not exactly sure about that, but I'm not traveling for pleasure right now. I've been going back and forth to see about her. So that's what I've been doing. But the another thing, I am going to be traveling in September to go to Punta Gorda. We've been working very hard on the convention with the Florida Watercolor Society. They've got some workshops. They've got 4 workshops, and people are registering for them all the time. And then we've got all of the wonderful demos and then a trade show coming up. It's been 3 years since there was a convention in person. There have been a lot of virtual activity, and there was every year the convention has been virtual. This year it's in person for the first time, so I will be there. And COVID has been terrible. It's just been terrible, and we still have a lot of people that have the option to sign up for a video replay instead of coming, and people are doing that. But I really hope that we'll get a good turnout. We've had a lot of people register so far for the live convention, and several people have registered for the workshops. I would love to take a workshop, but we're going to be working on the convention, so I don't think I'll have brain matter left for a workshop. So maybe another time I could do a workshop. But they have wonderful artists there, Mark McAfee, Bob Burridge, Lynn Ferris, who does light like nobody else, and then Jim Beach. So there are some very good workshop artists coming in September. So we're going to be traveling for that. And I really look forward to the convention because I've never been to one.
No way.
I only joined in 2019 when I started doing watercolors. And that was in Orlando, and I didn't go. So
Well, you're in for a treat, and I hope that everyone online is there so I can talk with you and give you encourage you and talk to you. Lynda, I want to express, I think all of us feel the same way, the willingness to come in and share your journey. And it's really the reason I wanted you here is to, sometimes we hear from the people who are 3-time, 4-time signatures and all over the world members. And we forget the flight or the journey that we go through and can learn from. And that's what I like about this forum is just have that little discussion and talk about it. And I appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us. It was just nicely done, and really appreciate your attitude about this.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I thought when you asked me that you were just nuts, Ron.